I'm Edwin Cantu, and this is Mentor Moments insights from mentors, community leaders, authors, and friends. And today's topic is the game doesn't start until you're 30. And so this actually came up when I was growing up. My dad sat me down one day and mentioned, as a man, don't make any life changing decisions before you're 30. And so the reason he said this actually came from his own personal lived experience. My dad was previously married, had previously had kids, had grew up in another country, had studied in another country, and had just a lot of maturity and just a process of living before he ever really met my mom and before he had my siblings and I. And so he sat me down, and one day, it might have been on the way to a baseball game, or we might have just been in the car or something, and he mentioned something he wished he would have known a little bit beforehand was how important and how long life is, but also how important it is to avoid life changing or life altering decisions. He said when he was young, and he says he's seen this across and actually now getting close to 30, I've also kind of seen it myself. Life is a lot longer than we expect it to be. The experience of being alive is like very day by day, and then randomly you look up and 6 years have gone by. And even from my own personal experience, those 2 COVID years really threw my internal radar of time being off. But he mentioned your life doesn't start until 30. And I tell you this because I hope that you don't make any huge life-changing decisions, moving to another state or getting married and having kids. He said the closer you can wait to 30, and 30 was obviously just a number that sounds good and things, but the underlying message was wait for your maturity to kick in. Wait for you to understand things about yourself, things about the world, things that you like. Just noticing the changes of how things come and go. Friendships are going to come and go. Relationships are going to go. Jobs are going to come and go. Companies are going to hire right after you leave. Those kind of situations that give you a little bit more balance and security in who you are as a person before you really step into the game to start making your way in the world. I think that was the underlying message that he was trying to get across. If what you're hearing is helpful, consider sending it to someone. Sharing the message is what really helps the channel grow. But back to the topic. It's interesting because when I've been in different environments, and typically right now I'm the youngest or close to being the youngest person in the room, a lot of it is because of the business community and my local community of where I am. It's predominantly an older crowd, maybe 35 and up. And so typically I'm like the kid in the room. And whenever I'm speaking with some of the business leaders there and I kind of mention my experience or ask certain questions afterwards, I'll try to go up and be intentional about introducing myself. Out of my curiosity, ask them a couple of questions. And sometimes they mention like, hey, I noticed you're one of the younger people here. How old are you? And I'd mention I'm 27, about to be 28. But I just try to understand as much as I can because my dad always mentioned that my life doesn't start until 30. And or somehow, one way or another, I would at times mention this idea, and oftentimes they would say, man, I wish somebody would have told me that. I felt like I was in such a rush to try to get to a certain title or try to force things to happen instead of just taking a step back, understanding that the journey is very long and that really, again, life doesn't really start getting interesting until after 30 where you have, not to say you can't travel, and there definitely are experiences that I think we could take advantage of when we're younger and don't have a ton of responsibilities and aren't tied down to a certain location. And exploring, I think, is huge for pre-30. But there is some insight there in being able to develop a level of patience, and it's not easy. I don't think I have a great grasp on what patience really means. But there's something there that if everyone who, in my mind, is very competent, very good communicator, very good thinker, all relay the same messages of I wish somebody would have told me that same thing earlier, then I think there's some truth to that. And now kind of coming up on 28, I do feel like I'm in a much better position to understand things. I still don't have the career thing figured out. I still don't have the relationship stuff figured out. But I feel a lot more comfortable with who I am as a person as opposed to when I was younger in my 20s. early 20s, I was really focused on personal development and working out. And I'm glad I did those things because I feel more certain and secure that my discipline, that my abilities can take me where I want to go. I still don't know where I want to go, but that patience and not stressing, it was almost like a constant, like a compass for myself from conversations with my dad of just wait until 30. And it took the pressure off that, again, life doesn't start until 30s. And he mentioned that for men. I can't speak for the woman experience and things, and I'm sure in some regards careers and all those things are still the same with families, and I know that's a little bit different, but I've also heard that women mature a bit quicker or are socially more mature than men. And working with college students and predominantly male college students, it was really interesting at the time when I first started working, being closer in age, and then 5-6 years down the line, noticing a big difference between my own personal development and where the students were, and seeing their journey and maturation from freshman year to sophomore years to some even going to grad school. Being patient, I know it's a message that everyone says, but that framework and that conversation with my dad really went a long way. And hearing it constantly validated from people that I think are also living their life on their terms, repeating the same sentiment and validating that insight was correct, was just something that made me want to share. And I think it could be helpful for all of us. And not saying that we have to wait until 30, and sometimes life circumstances force us to now start leading our lives way earlier than we need to or may be ready for. But I think it's that framework that also helps take some of the pressure and stress off of not having everything you want when before 30, and understanding just a bit more of the long game. What do you think? Does this reflect your own experience? Tell me about it in the comments. And if you watched the whole video, you might as well like the episode and subscribe to the channel. And as always, thanks for listening.